episode of D-Suite Nation is sponsored by Hoffman's Deco Deli. Now at their brand new location at 444 Saginaw Street in the heart of downtown Flint, Heath Hoffman and his staff has provided the Flint community with deliciously fresh food for the past 11 years. Whether you're stopping in for lunch, looking for catering for your corporate event or meeting, or simply stopping in for a hot cup of coffee, Hoffman's has something on the menu for you. Hoffman's Deco Deli, guaranteed to make your day a little fresher.
Welcome to another episode of the D-Suite Nation. We're at Daisy Duke's Bar in Flint. I am joined today by one of my favorite people.
Feelings mutual.
Big Mike Fordham in the house today.
What's
Mike,
up,
man, how you doing,
appreciate
man?
the invite, man. I'm doing lovely.
Well, I appreciate you accepting the invite. Trust me,
Absolutely.
I'm really glad that you're here. Tell us how life was growing up in Flint, man, because I know you're from Flint. Tell us how that was when you were living in Flint growing up as maybe a preteen and into your teen years.
Preteen, teen years, man. I lived a life just like a lot of other Flintstones. Dealt with Reverend Wade over at Foss Avenue Christian School.
Foss Avenue, I remember Foss Avenue.
Hey, but a lot of people have like horror stories, you know, because Reverend Wade didn't play. But me and Marlando, his son, we were like this. So, you know, I never saw the other side of Reverend Wade. So it was an awesome experience. Love one of my favorite teachers back at Foss Avenue Christian School was Miss McReynolds. I ended up going to Stewart, went to Atherton for a little while, but then came back to Flint. But again, you know, same experience as a lot of people. Flint will give you its different challenges, and you know, we all stood up and faced them and came out on top.
When I think of Foss Avenue, man, when I was at Potter Elementary School,
Oh no, you did.
we played them every year in basketball.
Absolutely.
Foss Avenue, and they were good too.
Yeah, they was.
They were good too.
They had God on their side.
Yeah, almost as good as us. Now you're at the new Flint Culteral Center.
Absolutely.
Tell us a little bit about the Flint Cultural Center to those who might not be as familiar as what that is.
Well, right. I'm at the Flint Culteral Center Academy. Now, it's located within the Cultural Center. Now, in the Cultural Center, you have the Flint Institute of Music, Flint Institute of Arts, the Flint Public Library, where they just passed the new millage, so they're going to put several $1 million into that building to renovate it. The Sloan Museum, Longway Planetarium, the Whiting Auditorium, and now the Flint Cultural Center Academy. And honestly, man, it's one of the greatest things that I've seen happen in the city of Flint, for students in the city of Flint, for families in the city of Flint. I mean, these kids, like we were speaking earlier, and I was telling you, they almost are going through curriculum similar to like the TV show Fame. They have dance, they have orchestra, they have band. They go to classes at Flint Institute of Arts. They go to classes at Longway Planetarium. So they're getting professional, hands-on, enriching experiences every single day. And I happen to be the community school director there, so which means I'm able to bring everything in the after-school portion. So in my program, you know, we do, right now we have a robotics competition going on. I have a robotics team. They're down at Kettering right now competing. And now this is kindergartners through second grade and my junior Lego team, then my third through fifth graders playing in the regular first Lego League team. And it's just an awesome and amazing experience to be able to bring these students, you know, some of those enriching experiences.
You know, it doesn't surprise me that you're one of the guys that are in charge of that and doing that there, because like when you talked about growing up in Flint, how you didn't subject yourself to all the nonsense and like some of the, you know, stuff that can happen in Flint. You were, you know, you had a good family upbringing. You were raised right. That's the way you presented yourself. You still present yourself that way now. So it doesn't surprise me that you're able to do the things that you're doing now, giving back, you know.
Absolutely.
Now, how do you know my sister, Angela Minlin? How do you two know each other?
Well, like we've been in several trainings together. I mean, I've worked with her, talked with her, received some great nuggets from her as far as, you know, dealing with students. But you know, it's been a great experience, you know, working with her. She does look better than you, just so you know. You know, it is what it is, right? But
She's a good-looking lady. She's a good-looking lady. I don't do too bad. She's a good-looking lady.
yeah, you a 6.5, 7-ish.
Well, we both look like our dad, though. So
Absolutely, yeah.
if she's a good-looking lady, I have to look like her. Actually, Mike, if I had no facial hair and let my hair grow out where it was nappy and curly, I would look just like my sister. Angela.
Please don't.
Did I just go there with
Please
that?
don't.
I didn't mean to go there. I didn't mean to go
We
there.
might have to cut that one out. Might have to edit that.
Hey, Ray, you mind if I ask Mike a question real quick?
Go ahead.
So you talked about the money that was going to be put into the Flint Public Library.
Right.
Now, I was with a group of people that kind of saw that article when it was announced. It was in the news. It was either in the paper or on Facebook or something like that. And the first question that everybody asked is, given the financial state of the city of Flint and the water situation, why is so much money being put into, like, say, the library when it could be put into other things?
Well, honestly, I
you
don't
can
even
speak
know
to
if
that.
I'm qualified to speak on this point, but all I'm going to say is this. My whole thing with what's going on in Flint now and what could potentially go on in Flint in the future, as the community school director, everything that I do, you know, we always talk about, does it make sense? Does it make common sense? But my new phrase is, does it make community sense? And right now, that makes absolute community sense for the city of Flint to upgrade that library, bring in all the new structures, the new facilities and everything where people will want to be at the library, want to bring their families, want to bring their kids, and which will overall raise what I like to say the overall GPA of our city. Because the thing about it is, if we can get our parents elevated, we can get our students elevated, and then we'll eventually get to the point where we were back in the 50s and 60s. A lot of people don't know Flint was, as far as financial situation was, Flint was probably the #1 city in the world as far as people how much people are making per capita, in, like I say, in the world. So eventually we do want to get back there, and I think this is a great first step to start right in the heart of the city. 2 miles from downtown, right in the heart of the cultural center. Start with the library, start with the new school. They're renovating a Sloan Museum right now. So everything that they're doing right now in the city of Flint makes community sense, and I love it. It's everything's going to pay off. Just wait. A couple years down the road, Flint is going to be that city that everybody's talking about, everybody's trying to move back to. The real estate market's going to go up. I mean, everything. Flint is at the cusp of the genesis, the rebirth, the Renaissance era.
Okay.
Now, can I come up and speak at the academy sometime, talk to some of the kids up there?
Ray,
I would love to give them the Ray speech, is what my friends call it, the Ray speech.
Absolutely love for
You know,
to
the
come.
humorous, making them laugh, and the shenanigans, all the dancing I do and all that crap,
See,
the
I'm
shadow
lucky.
boxing and all
I'm
that.
lucky. The students that we're dealing with over at Flint Culteral Center Academy, there's some great kids. They have great parents. I mean, and not saying that the other schools and everything don't have
100%.
that. But we're lucky where we were blessed to have a lot of students, a lot of parents, same kind of mindset where they see where we can go with this kind of thing. So, I mean, you would be awesome. The kids up there would love you.
I would love them too,
I'm
man.
just letting you know. The kids
Okay.
will love you. The parents will love you. And I would love for you to be able to have the opportunity to come up there and speak with both.
Okay, we'll iron out the details on that. I would
Absolutely.
love to come up there, man.
Absolutely.
You're doing a good job there. Now, we're going to talk about college first, and then we're going to talk about high school last. And there's a
good.
reason we're going to get into high school last, because it's looking like it could go in a different direction, in a good way, The high school thing.
Okay, we'll see.
Okay, yeah.
We'll see.
But no, you played at the University of Illinois, Fighting Illini, and you played
absolutely.
with a lot of good players. I remember
Absolutely.
a lot of those good players back then. I want to know what made, because when you were in high school, a lot of schools wanted you. The Big Ten, SEC, whatever, because you were one of the best players in the state. What made you decide Illinois, and what was your first impression of the campus when you arrived in Champaign?
Well, let me just start like this. The recruiting experience, college football, all that, it was surreal. You know, it was almost like I was in a kind of like a dream phase.
Yeah.
You know, the coaches that we had did an awesome job as far as getting my information out there. I mean, when I first came to Central, my very first marking period, I got a 4.0, and immediately, I want to say about a week after that, I got my first letter from Stanford. And because honestly, that's what colleges want to see. If you're a student
athletes
punching out a 4.0 and you can get out on the football field and do something,
you and Andre Weathers were like perfect examples of student athletes. Yeah.
I think I was a little smarter than Andre because, again, you know, he went to Michigan and I went to University of Illinois.
This is why we need more time on that.
But you know, I'm just letting it be known. Make sure Dre gets a copy of this. You know, but like I say, but going to University of Illinois, the whole recruiting experience. I mean, I used to get like shoe boxes of letters a day. George Perlis came to my house. Coaches from Indiana came, University of Illinois, and actually there was a mix-up in the schedule, so University of Illinois coaches and Indiana coaches were at my house at the same time.
Wow.
So, I mean, you know, it was a little bit of turmoil or whatnot, but we ironed it out, and then I was able to visit with both of them. And the thing that really sold me on the University of Illinois, as opposed to the other schools that were recruiting me, and I was recruited by Hawaii, Miami, like I said, Stanford. I mean, you name it, I could pull out a letter.
I seen the letters in Mr. Ufinger's classroom because I was a service student. And you don't have to explain to me the stacks of letters that you had. I know you had all those letters. I mean, they were literally, you had to put like 5 rubber bands on it. Yeah, I know. I know you got through about those.
So you passed up Hawaii for Illinois, huh?
And the issue was this. All right, I'm a Midwest guy. All right, I can't play in heat. So my thing was I'm gonna need a little bit of cold, some snow to come on down and let me go ahead and finish this game out.
So I used to live in Hawaii. I served and I was stationed in Hawaii.
I don't know how you did it.
It's not hot. It's not hot. The ocean keeps it like, it might be 90 degrees, but it feels like it's 86.
Now, if I would have heard that about 20-some years ago, I might have changed my decision, but I'm happy with the choice that I made as far as University of Illinois.
Hawaii is a place that you go on vacation, or if you're a single man.
Yeah.
If you're a single man, you take your buddies out there and you go to Hawaii and have fun.
That's where you go on vacation from football. Vacation.
I wouldn't play football for the University of Hawaii when I got Penn State, Michigan, Ohio State around here.
Playing football and then being on vacation at the same time.
But see, now you kind of, you know, figuring out what's the reason why you're here. Now, absolutely. Now, if my scholarship depended on how many times I could go out and sunbathe and see the pretty girls on the shores and surf and all that, I would have went to Hawaii hands down. But unfortunately, I don't think that I would have received my degree in tide watching and surfing and different things like that. So I had to pick something a little more practical. I took my visits. I visited Michigan. I visited Michigan State. I visited Northwestern, Indiana, Purdue. But when I got to the University of Illinois, it was just something different about the environment down there. The guys down there took me right in. It was almost like I had already committed, even though I hadn't. But it was just a great kind of atmosphere, and I love Coach Tepper at the time. That was our head coach. Denny Marson, God rest his soul, was my defensive line coach. A lot of people, I wish they could have experienced Denny Marson. Now, let me tell you a quick story about him. He was also Michael Strahan's coach when he went to the NFL.
Oh, okay.
So you know, I had the opportunity to be coached by the same guy that coached Strahan when he was in the league and different things. So, you know, it was just an awesome experience, and I was just blessed to be able to take part of it.
Okay, that's awesome, man. Now, when I think about your days at Illinois, there's a particular game that comes to mind, and I have to acknowledge it, okay? Look, I'm a man that tells it like it is. I'm not happy about the game, but it was a great game, and it was a good Michigan team you guys beat. It was in 1995.
Absolutely.
When your offensive line opened up those avenues for Ty Dothard. Ty Dothard. Well, I can't say nothing bad about him. It's just whatever game plan you guys implemented, this was a good team.
It was.
This is the same. Listen, this is the same Michigan team where Tim Diakabatuka ran up
Absolutely.
313 yards on Ohio
Tyrone
State.
Wheatley, everybody.
You know, Woodson was a freshman that year. He was a first-team All Big
I think
Ten.
Ricky Powers was on that team.
Ricky Powers and I think him and John Vaughn were our two running
Absolutely.
backs.
Then you had Runyon at
Yep,
tackle.
Runyon.
Yep.
95. Let me see. 95 was Scott Dreisbach. That was we were good.
Yeah,
that was
absolutely.
Lloyd Carr's first year with Michigan.
Lloyd Carr came to Flint Northwestern to watch us play Central versus Flint Northwestern. I remember seeing him on the sidelines. He was there.
Well, we were favored to win that game.
Yeah.
And Johnny Johnson Ty Dawson, that's all I heard when I was watching the game. Describe that feeling of going to the big house. And back at that time, the mighty Michigan Wolverines. Describe how that felt being able to leave that stadium a winner.
Well, actually, at that time, I was a freshman.
Yep.
So I didn't travel to that game. But I was in East St. Louis with my guy, David James.
Okay.
Now, if you remember, now I'm going to go back in your TV history real quick.
Okay.
If you remember East Side High from Lean On Me, the movie.
Yeah.
Lean on me, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
New Jersey.
Now, that's East St. right there with
Okay.
Joe Clark. Fair East Side. Okay, that's East St. So I was there in East St.
Patterson, New Jersey.
And we were sitting there watching the game, and I mean when Johnny Johnson hit Jimmy Klein in the corner of the end zone for that touchdown. But the thing about it is, what a lot of people don't realize, it was the strip from Simeon Rice on Ricky Powers. But you got to watch the film because the clock was ticking, and then Ricky Powers started getting full of himself, and then you could see him on film taunting us like the clock about to run out. He was tapping his wrist, and then Simeon must have seen that. And so he went, stripped the ball, we recovered the fumble, and the rest is history.
Yeah, and the rest is history. Ty Dawson had a hell of a game, and so did the offensive line. Right?
Now, Ty Dawson, I used to live in the football house with Ty Dawson, and he was a man amongst boys. Prototype running back. I mean, physique, everything, speed. He was strong as I don't know what, fast, did what he needed to do. And like I said, I used to live in the football house with him. Just a little brief Illinois history about the football houses. After Ty Dawson left and after we left, because I was a year after him, they tore down the football houses because they could barely stand. That's how we did it on campus. They had to tear down the houses we lived in.
Damn. Now you're still in contact with Ty Dawson.
Still in contact.
How's his
with
health? Is his health good? I mean, he's
Man,
doing good.
Ty is doing awesome. He's doing amazing. We have a group here on the Marco Polo. We call it the Honorable Illini.
Okay.
And that's with all the Illinois football players from I want to say the 70s. We got all kind of people in there. So, Ty Dawson, he's in there. Juice Williams. You name the former Illini, they're all on there. But Ty, we always do like the vinegar challenges, where we're all trying to make sure we maintain a healthy body or whatnot. So we'll do the vinegar challenges, the weightlifting challenges, the different crunches and different things like that. So yeah, he's still a leader. He's still the alpha. And we still respect him as such.
Well, okay. The next time you talk to him, just tell him that the podcaster said that you played a hell of a game in '95. He always remembers that. It's more of a respect thing.
Yeah.
I didn't like what he was doing because I'm
Absolutely.
a Michigan guy.
Yeah.
But
He
that
was
game
carving
always
up
sticks out
chunks.
in my mind. When I see you, I always think of Ty Dawson.
Yeah.
And I think of 1995. It's just tell him that I said that. Just give him my blessing and then tell him that was a hell of a game.
He took me in from day
Yeah.
one. He was like a big brother from day one. So that has always been my guy. Cincinnati. From Cincinnati. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Is he from Illinois? Like, is he from the state of Illinois?
Nope. He's from Cincinnati. Played at LaSalle High School.
Okay. Before we get into the last topic here, I'm going to say this for all the Illinois guys that are listening. I am going to have a future podcast about the Detroit Bad Boys and the Chicago Bulls and Scottie Pippen and Michael Jordan, the GOAT. If anybody from his Illinois team that is from Chicago or anywhere in that suburban area
There's plenty of
that would like to come up to Flint,
Juice, where you at?
Juice, if you want to come here and sit in the chair, I will buy you dinner. Wherever we're located at, you will not have to spend a dime. I will take care of you. But we're going to talk Bad Boys, Michael Jordan, and Scottie Pippen. We're going to let it all out right here. So that is an open challenge. to anybody that's listening.
Man,
Now,
just
we can have a
so you
respectable-
know, all my Chicago people,
Yes.
us here in Michigan and Detroit Bad Boys fans, we
Yes.
know that we created that dynasty for Chicago. We
Yes.
know the Bad Boys made the Bulls. Holla back.
Yeah. Make sure you do your homework. Make sure you know what you're talking about, because I won't need this that day. I'm not going to
Absolutely
need that. I'm
not.
going on
Nope.
pure knowledge, and I'm going to let it be
You
known
don't
on
want
what
to
I
see
think.
James Buddha Edwards. Come
Edwards.
on now.
I mean, I'm really going to be talking about Scottie Pippen really, really hard. So
Yeah.
it can be a respectable argument, and then, we can argue however, but that's a different topic. Okay, I am done with this notebook for the day. We're going to talk about
Absolutely.
something else.
Let's go ahead and go off script.
All right, Mike. One of my heroes at Central High School, Flint Central High School. You were class of 1993.
Absolutely.
There are people that will say that you were the best player that they've seen at Central. There are people that fit. Randy Scott,
My
I
guy.
put down earlier, he'll say that too.
My guy.
Now, let me say this, man. When I got to Central, my freshman year, that would have been your 11th grade year,
Right.
1991. I remember that whole team. And that is like, if you take high school, college, and pro sports, if you take any team that is known in the world, at any level, that 1991 Flint Central football team is one of my favorite teams ever. I hold
Mine
that team
too.
near and dear to me.
Mine too.
Now, let me say this. They had guys like you on there. Ed Victory was on that
Steve
team.
Vick, come on.
Aaron Brown.
Aaron Brown.
Toma
Lightfoot,
Terry Moore.
Terry Moore.
D. Red.
Can we talk about Terry
Sean
Moore too
Payne.
when we get a chance? Because Terry Moore, ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, that whole team was ridiculous. Ben
Absolutely.
Bigelow. I don't know if we
D-Red,
mentioned
Ben
him.
Bigelow.
Bill Griffiths was on that team.
Keto Hurd.
Keto Hurd. Luckett played with you guys.
Absolutely.
Weathers was a young sophomore on that
he
team.
was a young
really
pup
good
out
player.
there handling it on defense. Yep.
And I remember when I used to watch those games on Fridays, because I played on JVs that year. And I was 14 years old, wet behind the ears. The first year I played organized football, I didn't know nothing about football. Because, obviously we used to practice on the baseball field in center field there.
And then
then
y'all
you
would
guys
come
had
over
the
at the end of the
football
game. Yeah, in the practice. And we in scrimmage.
And watching you, like you guys was like, that was like more of a business type thing. The varsity was like a business thing. It was almost like that was your job or something.
Yeah.
And then we're over here having fun playing these Death Valley games and Bull in the Ring.
And the reindeers.
Reindeer, angle tackling, and all that crap.
Bull, yeah,
But
bull
man,
in
I
the
remember
ring.
watching you guys on Fridays, man, and I remember thinking to myself, I'm never going to play varsity football if this is if that's how good you have to be. I'm never going to play varsity. Now, not really knowing that I'm going to grow into my body, the coaches that I'm going to have are going
turned
to
into a
develop
beast
me.
too,
Okay, I
yeah.
didn't know that. And I had great coaches. We had the same coaches.
Yeah, absolutely.
They developed me into a. I wasn't what you were, but I was a good football player.
Absolutely.
I was a good
remember
football
you.
Now, Arthur Hill with the 91 year I'm talking about. That was your guys' Northern is our rival, but from a state of Michigan standpoint that year, Central and Arthur Hill was like a big deal.
Very big.
In 91, now they won the state title that year.
Sure did.
But you guys
They stole it.
came very, very close. I'm going to let you talk about Central and Arthur Hill in that year. You go ahead and talk. You speak on that.
Well, man, look, that year you had Arthur Hill, you had Marvin Wright at
Yep.
quarterback,
Yep.
who was an absolute dynamo at quarterback.
Oh, yeah.
Now understand that first game we played, I think he played with a hairline fracture.
Okay.
All right, so that's the caliber of people we were up against. But yet and still, everybody expected us to beat them hands down. We went the whole game, beat them down, end up getting to the last, a minute and 44, we were up 21-7. And somehow they came back and beat us that first time.
And we're talking about the regular season game, right?
This was the
Yeah.
regular
Okay.
season. And then finally we had a chance at redemption because we drew them in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And again, we were up by about 4 points or whatnot. And then we had a costly fumble, and they recovered, went back, scored, game over. And the funny thing about it is, like you say, we had the same coaches. Coach Ufinger shared with me that Traverse City coaches, who they were supposed to be playing the next week, they had already started preparing for us.
Oh.
They started because they had already won their game. They started practice for us because, like you say, on paper, wasn't nobody going to beat that team.
No.
We ended up beating ourselves, but that was probably the absolute best football team I've ever played against because, like you say, we had everybody from top to bottom where we needed them. Great guys at every position, and it just worked.
I think you had like 10 or 12 guys that were like first team all city.
Yeah.
And you had like a lot of guys that were like all. I mean, that's as loaded as you can get.
Yeah.
Now,
absolutely.
you know, obviously in the 80s, there was good teams. You know, the 84 team, they won a game in the playoffs. They were great. But you guys, in my opinion, I don't care what anybody thinks. In my opinion, that's the best team that I ever watched that I didn't play on. Was a 91 Central team. That could have very easily won a state championship. Now,
I have to
if I
agree with you.
I used to, my uncles used to take me to Atwood Stadium for years. I watched all the Central games and all the great players. The 91 team is the only team that I would have been afraid of from my 93 team. Mm-hmm. You know, the team that Randy Scott played on.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
That would have been a team that would have worried me because I think much like the 84 team, you guys had, you know, a lot of individual players. Guys I just mentioned, Terry Moore, Victor Yu, and the list goes on and on and on. But we came together as a team. I mean, we had Dre Weathers, who was, you know, a man amongst boys.
D'Angelo Mitchell.
And D'Angelo Mitchell, but we had everybody else that came together, and I would have loved to have played you guys, man. How would you have fared against us?
Well, all I'm gonna say is
Oh,
this.
this is good. Turn these volumes up. You got the volume
Now,
up.
at the end of every practice, like you already know, you guys would come over. We would scrimmage the JV or whatnot.
Oh.
And
Well, hold on. I'm not talking about that.
I'm just saying.
I don't want to. No, not
I'm
when you were
just
beating us.
saying.
No, not that.
If okay, so I see if our ages were similar, and
Yes,
you can
yes.
merge the 91 versus the 93.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna tell you this, and as much as I love my boy Randy Scott,
Oh boy.
if I was playing nose, you all's offense would not have even got started. It was no way, cause love my boy Randy, but I was gonna be right there in Boo face every single time.
Yeah, but
every
Randy
single
would have
play.
had help and a great deal of help.
It don't
wouldn't
matter.
have been just him on you.
Now I gotta share with you this story, okay? And you know, in high school, you know, okay, yeah, I had a pretty good career. So coaches, as they watching film, they, you know, you gotta try and figure out how you can stop me. When we played Northwestern, now I'm getting this from Northwestern's players. They had a play, I think they called it Superstar. I don't know what it was or whatnot. But if you watch the film, the very first play of the game, all 5 linemen blocked me. Nobody else blocked anybody else on that line. So understand, I was used to being double teamed and triple teamed from my junior year on. I've never received a single team, a one-on-one block after my sophomore year. So I was beating double teams, I was beating triple teams. So like I say, if you thought that one individual was gonna stop me from getting to that ball, please do it all game so that I can go ahead and pad my stats, because I was gonna get back there regardless.
I can't argue that because I know what you were. I can't argue that.
And Mark Eccles, him and Randy, if Mark was at guard and he tried to step down, I was going to split that double team. If you put Stan Brown over there on the other side, I'll squeeze up in there. Clemens, if you want to put him in there, I'll squeeze up in there too.
Well, the thing about Mark Eckel, though, the thing about him is
Love me some Mark
he might
Eccles.
not have had the
Don't
physical
forget about
tools
Jeff
that you
Nagy.
have.
Yeah.
But Mark had a good muscle between his ears. Mark is smart
absolutely.
enough.
Absolutely.
This is a guy who was making Sam Sword look like a fool in the playoffs
Absolutely.
in '93.
Absolutely. Sam Sawyer went to Michigan. You're
Mike,
right.
Mark would have. I don't know what he. It's kind of okay. You win that matchup. Okay, we'll get it to you. Okay, I can't.
hands
I ain't gonna
down.
go around that, man.
And like I said, I'll take all 3. You give me Randy at center, Mark at guard, Clements at the other guard. It don't matter. I'm gonna beat that triple team every single time.
Who's gonna handle Torrey Robinson?
Torrey Robinson, Joe Ray Vaughn, Aaron Brown, Ben Bigelow, me,
Joe Ray Vaughn would have handled Torrey
Joe
Robinson.
Ray Vaughn, absolutely. Absolutely. But the thing about it is, Joe Ray played tackle, so, Torrey
I know.
wouldn't
Ray
be
was-
at
I know.
end. Now, if we brought him inside, Joe Ray would still handle it. But, we still had, I think you might have forgot about this one. Our X Factor, we had Big Daddy, Jermaine Jackson, too. He was a center. He was a big guy. So even if you did get around him, you got to take a couple extra steps because he was a big guy.
Yeah, but Aaron was your center that year, though, right?
Between
Brown.
Aaron and Bigelow, yeah.
Brown.
But Brown, he played guard next to me if I played tackle.
Brown would have been a tough guy also to deal with because, Ufinger already made it clear that's the meanest offensive lineman that he's ever coached.
Man, I'm telling you, I learned so much from Aaron Brown, man.
Yeah,
I
he
love
was-
that dude to this day. That's
He was,
my guy.
yeah, I can't complain. Now we had Clayton Wernette, who was no slouch either.
Clayton, he always marched to the beat of a different drummer.
Clayton used to wear, when we would have a road game, he would get on the bus with his with full gear on, helmet.
Yeah.
We would ride to Midland, and he has his helmet on.
Yeah.
The whole ride there,
Man.
with it unstrapped.
That was he was a now this is one of the highest compliments that I could give to a football player, okay? Just so you know.
Okay.
He was a throwback football player. He could have played with leather helmets. That's what I think about Clayton.
I agree with that. Okay, Tyrus Fowler.
Tyrus Fowler,
Tyrus
that's my
Fowler.
little brother. He was a monster too. Out there at defensive end, tall, strong, fast.
Now, which one of your corners on 91s is on D. Mitch? I'm sorry, two. Give me two or three guys, because you're not going to put one guy on D. Mitch.
But the thing about it is, even if we did put one-on-one with D. Mitch, you're not going to have time to pass the ball. The ball is not coming out unless you just do quick slants all day, but we'll drop backers in the coverage and cover all that junk. You're not going to have more than 2.5 seconds because I'm right there at your quarterback trying to see what he had for lunch.
Well, Nate Braswell was a good guard.
But if we film practices,
I know. Well,
that's all I'm gonna say about that. I love me some Nate too, and even Beasley, Big Mike.
Oh, yeah, Big Mike Beasley.
Yeah.
Love Mike Beasley.
Yeah.
Now, we didn't have Stan Brown for that whole year because he broke his leg.
That's
in
my
August.
mini-me.
He
That's
broke
my
his
mini-me.
leg in August, and I don't make excuses, injuries and all that. We didn't win the state title, but it certainly would have been nice to have had him all year.
Oh, yeah.
And for Clayton to not tear his ACL like he did in that Midland game.
Unfortunate. Yep. And that's why I was sharing. I tore both of my ACLs. The first year I got to Illinois, I don't know if you remember, but my senior year at Central, I injured my shoulder. And I had to sit out like the first 3 games. That was that year Southwestern beat us.
I do remember that, yeah. I wasn't going to bring that up. I do remember Southwestern.
It's still a soft spark.
How can you lose
what
to
I'm saying?
Southwestern, man?
Can we
Back
cut
there.
that part out? And that didn't happen. Let's just move on. So I injured my shoulder
They lost to
during,
Southwestern Academy. Oh, go ahead.
like I said, I injured
The
my
team that
shoulder.
would beat us. Never mind.
Is this thing
Go
on?
edit that out.
I injured my shoulder like the first quarter. And
I think I remember that. That was at Houston Stadium, wasn't it?
It
When you had
was,
that
but-
ice on your shoulder.
But
I do
that
remember
game,
I forgot about that.
I was injured.
Didn't Alvin
Jones
Jones
got
or,
injured.
like, he got carried on an ambulance.
Yep.
I remember that.
Jermaine, Big Daddy, got the tip of his pinky chopped off. So we were down 3 starters first quarter already. And so, and honestly, I talk to Jake Kendall often,
Yeah.
running back from Southwestern.
I know.
And what he loves to say.
Wasn't he a 4-year starter? in
I
varsity?
think so.
Yeah.
He loves to say that I never tackled him in the Saginaw Valley Conference. In no game, he says I never tackled him. I haven't looked at the footage yet, but I think I might have got him at least once or twice. But I know I didn't get him that game because I was out the first quarter and it was a wrap.
Well, I don't know if you guys put a glove on him, but when he was a senior, the '93 season, we was putting hats on him and all that.
And I appreciate that. And see,
But-
that's what y'all supposed to do. Y'all supposed to go ahead and take care
But
of
what I
that for
remember
us.
about that game when we played Southwestern, I remember at Houston Stadium, it was muddy. The grass was real thick. It looked like the grass hadn't been cut in like 2 months. It was
Yeah,
muddy.
that's Houston Stadium. That's it. That's what you do. It ain't gonna be pretty. If you want to win at Houston Stadium, you gotta bring your A game, your long cleats. You gotta bring everything. You're not gonna get an easy win out of there.
Yeah. But, once again, Mike, though, getting back to that 91 team, that really is one of my favorite teams, man. And
I mean, the coaching staff, from the coaching staff down, Ufinger, Paraskis, Mr. P,
Pollock, Ewing, and
Jack Ewing,
Bolta Hill, and all
even
them
Mr.
guys.
Maisie, Lynn
Mr.
Maisie.
Maisie.
Oh my goodness gracious!
Me and Steve Levels was talking about on Fridays, because it was like that back in the 80s when he played. And I know you're going to remember this too.
Yep.
Getting your ankle taped like by Mr. Maisie.
Right
those
before the
NFL
game.
films
Yep.
that were playing
Man,
with
that
Butkus
used to
and
get us
Lambert.
hyped for the game.
It was the same film, but still, I love it
Man,
every time I see
every
it, man.
single time.
loved it.
Sometimes we would just stay in there after we get our ankles taped. We got to sit there and watch the old smacks from the NFL footage.
I
Yeah,
love
absolutely.
Mr. Man, I used to love Mr. Maisie.
Love-
I
yeah,
loved
love
his
me
health.
some Mr.
He had that
Maisie.
health class down in the field
Yep,
house.
absolutely.
He was just, I mean, Fred Ireland was like the best athletic
come on,
director,
man.
man. And
It was no comparison.
I mean, what a time to.
I mean, we were blessed. I mean, even Mr. Bobian, you know, we had all kind of support from all the administrators. They knew us. We was on a first name basis. They cared. They were at all the games. They were at practices. I mean, it was just an awesome time to grow up and compete in Flint.
I gotta say something about Mr. Bobian. Now, I grew up now where he lived, like where he raised his sons. I lived a block over, so I grew up with the Bobians. And my best friend lived right next door to Mr. Bobian. Now, I have to tell you something about Mr. Bobian you might not know.
I'm ready.
Now, look, in school, coolest guy ever. Like, hey, man, what's up, man? Like, hey, man, everything
Yeah,
going all right,
yeah.
man? Coolest guy ever. You can't be around a better guy in high school than Mr.
Exactly,
Bobian. I'm going to tell you how he was at the house when he was at home. He was
snap,
one.
I need-
Listen, he didn't do none of that jiving at home. You talk about somebody that demanded respect. I mean, like if you
I
were
can see
if
that.
you were next door
I can see
and
that.
your music was too loud,
Yeah.
he'd knock on your door and tell you to turn that shit down.
Yeah, I can see that.
People got to work in the morning. Turn that fucking shit down. He was that guy. Or if you like, you know how the term now, get off my lawn?
Yeah.
He is the epitome of get off my lawn because he used to literally tell you, don't be driving on my lawn. He said, what are you,
That's
crazy?
hilarious.
Oh, man, all the time.
Now, see-
So like in the neighborhood, every time we see him, how you doing, Mr. Bobian? We go up and shake his hand.
Yeah.
And but no, at Central though,
I mean,
total
he
opposite,
was
man.
total people
Yeah,
person.
good person.
Girls
Now,
liked him, guys liked him. I mean, he was just great.
Now, everything that I just said about him, the way he was at home, I mean that in the most respectful way. That's just the way he was. But like people at school that never seen him like at home, that's how he was at home. He was
I
kind of
love
like,
it. I love it.
kind of like when Mr. Ufinger, like when he was in a bad mood, you know how he was.
Yeah.
That was like Mr. Bobian all the time at home.
Now see,
Oh,
Ufinger
man.
wrestled and beat a bear, so
Beat
I
a
mean,
bear, yeah.
yeah. So if he was anything like Mr. Ufinger, gee whiz. Okay, I can see that.
And the thing about Mr. Ufinger is when we played for him, you know, he wasn't really that old yet.
Yeah.
I mean, he was in his late 40s, but he wasn't like,
No.
I mean, he was still big and strong, and he would get on that line and show you something if you were acting hard.
Many a times he got it down across from me and showed me the
Yeah.
correct way to do it and why you do it this way. Yeah,
Oh,
absolutely.
yeah. Now,
Absolutely.
Randy Scott and I, your buddy Randy, that you mentioned
My
earlier,
dog.
we went to, when Mr. Ufinger got inducted into it was called the Michigan High School Football Coaches Hall of Fame. It was at the Four-Way Hotel in Ann Arbor. The Michigan coaching staff was there. This is when they hired Brady Hoke. The coaching staff was there. Mr. Ufinger was being honored. He said a lot of nice things about Randy Scott. How he said his freshman year, he said he probably literally didn't play a single snap on the JVs. He said 10th grade year was pretty much the same thing. He said, and then we moved him up to varsity in 11th grade. Really didn't get much of a shot there. And then he said, you got a guy who was, you know, scratching and clawing his way, you know, he was in the weight room trying to get better. And then he ended up starting on an undefeated football team. He said, those are the kinds of guys that I love to coach, are guys like Randy Scott. He said some
Absolutely.
nice things about Randy Scott.
Absolutely.
And what was good, when we were there, what was cool about that, when Mr. Ufinger was making his speech, that voice, you know, that man's voice that he's got,
Yeah.
it sounded like you know, like on a Friday before we get on the bus and go to the game, you know how we kind of meet by that chalkboard there,
Right.
by where the coach's locker room, we sit down the hall and he's talking. That's what you felt like you were at something like that.
Right.
It was what a guy he was. I'm going to have him on the show, and
Yeah.
we're going to talk. I definitely going to talk about the bear because I want to know what animal strength feels like. How do you pin a bear, man? Mike, this bear, here's what you might not have known about that bear. That bear traveled the country for 4 years, and only 2 guys were able to pin it. There was a guy from St. Anne, Missouri, and Mr. Ufinger. So we're definitely...
Ufinger was darn near a bear himself. He was probably the most hairy coach I ever
George
seen.
Animal Steel.
Yeah.
Oh, now that I'm on wrestling now.
Oh, here we go.
Hey,
We just went off the rails now.
no,
let's
he's a
do
wrestling.
it.
No,
Let's
he's a
do it.
wrestling fan. He knows the Big Show.
What?
Or
Yeah,
you met him.
I took a picture with
you
him in
met him.
Detroit. Yep, yeah.
Now, you look at this picture of him in the Big Show.
Yeah.
Mike is a large man.
I thought I was.
Man's man. He looks like Webster next to the Big Show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where did you meet the Big Show at?
I was actually at Detroit Metro Airport on my way to a conference in Palm Springs, and happened to see him, and it was like all the kitty stuff came out of me, and it was like
Yeah.
Big Show.
That's the way I would've been,
Oh
too.
man, I had to go get the picture.
Oh, that's a good
I
story.
mean, I even looked at his hands. Now I have some pretty
Just so
large
big,
hands.
Yeah.
I mean, his hands, his fingers were like 2 of my fingers together.
Oh,
I mean, he just a massive individual. I mean, but still a great guy. He was real gracious, allowed us to take the pictures. You know what I'm saying? And you know, didn't have any he wasn't one of those no, back away. I don't want to take no pictures and this, that, and the other. No, just great guy. I mean, class act.
Were you a wrestling fan when you were growing up?
Absolutely.
WWF?
Ever since I was about 11 or 12 years old. I mean, from Summer Slams. I mean, I remember going to the IMA when they showed them on the big
Yes, sir.
screen.
That's
I
right.
think it was
Closed circuit, yeah.
Yep, absolutely. When King Kong Bundy
WrestleMania 2.
Yep.
WrestleMania 2. Hulk Hogan. He's talking about Hulk Hogan versus King Kong Bundy in the steel cage.
and he slammed him.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my goodness gracious! Yeah.
That was the Mr. T. Roddy
Yep.
Piper boxing
Yep.
match.
Big John Stud, Junkyard
Yeah.
Dog.
William
oh,
the
my
Refrigerator
goodness.
Perry.
William
the big
Perry,
Battle
yeah.
Royal. That's the one that he's talking about.
So who were your favorite wrestlers growing up?
Oh my goodness! You got another hour? You're gonna have to lengthen the tape. I love them all. I mean, I was definitely a Four Horsemen fan. I mean, because you know I go from NWA to WWF.
I watched both.
Exactly.
I watched both. Yeah.
I mean,
I was the same way. I watched both.
I was a Nikita Khrushchev, Magnum
Nikita Koloff,
TA.
the Koloffs, yeah.
Oh, I used to love when him and Magnum TA used to have their challenges. Are you
Magnum
kidding
TA,
me?
yeah.
Come on, man. The Von Erichs, Kerry Von Erich. Come on, man. I mean, wrestling. I mean, that's what kind of put me
Those
into
guys
the
were like
athletic state of mind.
legitimately tough guys. They were legitimate tough guys.
Jimmy Superfly Snuka. Come on, Macho Man.
You
Even
know, I did
even
a-
Jake the Snake.
You know, I did a pro wrestling podcast about 3 or 4 weeks ago.
Get
with
outta
Vince,
here.
A guy named Vince Strange, yeah.
Yeah.
We talked about pro wrestling for an hour.
Oh my goodness, man. We could talk on pro wrestling all day. Love me some pro wrestling.
Well, I'll tell you what, the next time that I have you on, we'll do a wrestling.
And I even got back into it now that a couple weeks ago they brought The Rock back to SmackDown. And, oh my goodness.
That's his.
People
Yeah,
are smelling
my-
what The Rock is cooking all over the land.
My favorites were Bret Hart,
Oh yeah.
The Rock.
Hart Foundation. Jimmy Hart. Oh come on now.
The Rock and Stone Cold. I love that.
Oh.
I love that rivalry between the two of them.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was always a fan of the Road Warriors.
Oh, are you kidding me?
I used to love them.
Hawk
When
and
they were-
Animal?
I liked them when they were bad guys. Like
When they
we were
listen,
little.
when they come out, first of all, they had the absolute best intro music. And you just hear that guitar come in. Come on, man. Then you see them spikes on the shoulder pads. Oh, you already knew it was going down.
That's a sign of a iconic wrestler when you can hear that music.
Oh, yeah.
And know who's coming out,
Yeah.
or just you think about a wrestler and you could hear that theme music in your head. You
Absolutely.
know, for me it was like Stone Cold, that glass
Yeah.
shattering.
Oh, you hear the glass shattering, people going nuts.
And then there was Hulk Hogan's Real American music.
Yeah,
Or
and
even
that's,
if you go
and
before
that's
that,
the
Eye
thing.
of the
Hulk
Tiger.
Hogan was the
Eye of the Tiger.
icon, but
Yeah.
yet and still, you still had love for everybody. I mean, everybody.
My favorite wrestler back then in the young years was Roddy Piper when he was a bad guy.
I'll
He had
give you that.
Cowboy
I'll
Bob
give
Orton
you-
in the Piper's
Oh, come
Pit
on
with the
now.
cast.
It always
When he
went
took that
down in
coconut,
Piper.
when he took that coconut and busted Superfly Snook on
Look,
his head.
man, it always went down in Piper's Pit.
That
It
was a
started
real,
off.
that was a real coconut he busted his head with.
I mean, you might want to think about bringing some of that to the podcast. You
I'm
never know. You might
trying.
have to bust somebody in the head with a coconut or something. Go ahead and
Ray might have to bust out his old hardcore wrestling
You know what I'm
moves
saying?
again.
Hey, I tell you, I will pay good money to see this. if you come out in one of those wrestling onesies,
like the Big Show.
Like Andre the Giant?
Yep, well, one of them wrestling onesies, and have that, cutting everything up, man, I tell you, I pay good money. And I know it's a lot of former, actually, they probably wouldn't pay good money to see that. I don't know. I mean, maybe a few years ago, but you know what I'm saying. If you put on one of those wrestling leotards to come out here, man, I mean, that's how you should do that pro wrestling. That next one that you're going to do it in the dog.
You want me to have the
attire.
one-strap leotards on.
Yep, and I want you to run to the stage, bounce off the rope, and then go back, then come. That's how you need to start it. That's how you need to kick it off.
You know what I would have told the Big Show after I shook his hand, and what I would say, hey, man, thanks for taking the time out. I took a picture. You know how I would have ended that?
How was that?
I'd have told him, Andre the Giant would have beat your ass.
Oh. I mean, Andre.
That's what I would have said to the Big Show. I'm one of his hardest critics. I'd have said to him, Big Show, let me ask you a few questions. How is somebody so big? Why are you always crying on SmackDown? You're always crying about something.
Only thing I'm gonna say about that,
always crying.
I just hope you would say that for a distance, because his reach, he can catch you from across the room, man. Just so
I've seen him perfect plexed. I've seen him power bound.
Yeah.
I've seen him razor's edged. How does somebody 550 pounds get thrown around like that, like he's Rey Mysterio Jr.?
That's the thing. You got to sell the dream. You know what I'm saying? You got to sell the dream.
I wouldn't have been this close when I told him. First of all, I would not have been this close. I would have been like where he is.
Nah, if I was you, I'd have sent it to him in a text message.
Or an email or text message.
You know what I'm saying?
Like,
Call him.
The biggest sissy I've ever seen.
Yeah. Make sure he a couple states away. You're going to need some head start.
You let Floyd Mayweather Jr. knock you out in a charity fight.
Yeah, that happened.
Big dummy, man. I mean, God.
What was the size difference between those two?
Oh my goodness, at least
the tail of the tape.
The
tail of the tape. He was.
He was 5'25".
The Big Show was, I think, about like 5'25", 7'2", 5'25". Fighting a guy her size, that little girl right there. That's how big Floyd Mayweather Jr.
About
was.
5'8",
I'm
5'9",
talking about
140.
Andre the Giant. Andre the Giant and the Big Show.
Oh, Andre was
They're
7'5", 530 pounds.
Yeah.
So they were close in size.
Big Show he's a little smaller than that.
Yeah, and a little shorter. Yep.
But Andre the Giant though, like, I'm talking like more so like in the 70s and maybe like early 80s when he still kind of had like the long hair before Big John Studd cut his hair off. When Bundy was holding him, remember they cut his hair off? And
what's going on, bro? Good to see you. all day.
Mike's talking all kinds of shit over here. Yeah, you know that voice. Talking all kinds of shit.
But one thing I will not do is talk about anything that happened at the rain check back in the day. That's gonna stay off camera.
What happened at the race? Now that you brought it up.
Nothing. I don't know. There's nothing. Yeah. Call Weathers. Call Boo. Oh my goodness gracious.
Oh God, you were acting up with all them guys.
Listen, it wasn't nothing else that they could do but close the rain check. I'm gonna just put it like that. Yeah, you were here. I think you were at this outing. It was a couple years ago. The funniest thing I've ever seen, and I captured on video. I'm pretty sure you were at this. We were at Whiskey Hill a couple years ago, where I was singing karaoke and all that stuff. Yeah.
And Tyvon was talking. I videoed it. He was talking about if he would have played quarterback. He said he should have been the quarterback at Central.
Yeah.
Now here's what's funny about that. It's not really what he was saying. What was funny. The funny thing about him getting into his story is that he was acting like the way that he acts. You know, talking loud. Looks like he's getting ready to do something.
Yeah, like he's about ready to fight. Yeah.
You look in the background. There's this old white guy singing country music to his wife. And then you got Tyvon right here acting like the way that he has. The funniest shit ever.
And that was right before he started singing karaoke, him and Dre Weathers, on the stage.
Right.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, though, it's funny because he's like, looks like he's getting ready to kill 13 people. But we know that how he is. But if you look in the background, there's an old guy, looks like James J. Dillon, singing karaoke to his wife. It's like their 50th anniversary.
You didn't bring
and
up
Tyvon
James
is acting
J.
like that.
Dillon. Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
what you know
that
about
was
James
the funniest.
J.
That's the funniest thing ever. I still have that video. I'll show you that later on. But okay, one final question. 1991 versus 1993. What's the final score?
91 team. Now, what you got to realize about that 91 team is
Dre's playing with us.
Now, okay, Dre can play with y'all, but
Oh.
understand this. You know, in football, the coaches have to exchange film, so they get the previous 2 weeks, okay? So for the first 6 games of that 1991 team, we scored on the very first play.
Okay.
That's how good our team was. We could score when we want to, but let me give you the kicker. We had 2 passing plays. We never passed the ball. We ran that ball down your throat and said, "Stop us." And that's what it was. We was averaging 8 to 10 yards a pop in the running game. So it wouldn't have been close. We would have ran the ball down your throat. Our defense would have smothered everything y'all tried to do. You wouldn't have been able to get. You might have now. Boo might have got a little scared and threw an early pass up. And the thing about it is, if a ball is in the air, I don't matter what side of the field it's on, D'Angelo Mitchell gonna catch it. So if he just happened to get one pass off, y'all might have got that one completion. But other than that, I'm gonna be respectful because I love y'all. So I'm gonna say final score 72-7.
72 to 7.
72-7. Is that what you just said? You
72-7.
What would the real score
72
be?
to 7. Hold on 1 second. Let me say something on that. You would have beat a team that's ranked 22nd in the nation in Class A by 65 points.
Did that? Been there, done that. Now you gotta understand. You know.
We was putting up 38 a game ourselves now, respectively.
We was shutting down everybody. People,
Okay.
if people scored on us,
Now, I'm gonna say
it
this.
was like
Now, if Fred and all them were watching, all my guys, we took care of Arthur Hill. We took care of them.
without Marvin Wright, without Dan Seaman.
They still had Sword and all them.
I mean, yeah, but he played linebacker. You know,
I think Alfonso Boone was still there.
he might have still been there, but the key, the X factors was Marvin Wright and Dan Seaman. That's the ones who connected on that final touchdown pass that sent them to the playoffs and sent us home. And like I say, you guys, we scrimmaged y'all because y'all was like our little brothers. You know what I'm saying?
I know, but
and
you can't base it on when we were children.
You already know how you treat little brothers. You know, you put the hand on the forehead, you let them swing until they get tired, and then you go ahead and finish them off before mom and dad says, "Stop beating up on your little brother so bad." 72-7.
72-7. Okay. Well,
And that 7 would have came off of 2 safeties, because I probably would have played quarterback and took a knee, and a field goal.
okay, there you have it. 72-7. They would have beaten our team 72-7. Damn, Mike.
Nah, we probably would have.
I think what you're saying right now, I think that's from years of a verbal abuse you've taken from Boo and Dre and all them on how great they were.
Well,
I
understand
think
this.
that's the Mike that's talking now.
Now,
I believe that you would have stood out. You probably would have been the MVP in a losing effort. Make no mistake about that. You would have been the MVP in a losing effort. But I just think that's competitive battery between you, Boo, and Dre all years.
Now, what would be good is if you could do this, because remember, we played that Northern team that we beat 66-6.
I remember that game. Yep.
What you could do is ask some of those players what they thought, because they knew, it was like a extended family when we played Northern, Northwestern, and Southwestern and everything. So they knew.
Now,
Ask my team who he thinks
Okay.
would have won that, because
okay.
he played against y'all too.
Yeah. Now, ask Matina who shut him out. Now, we didn't score 66, okay? We scored 35, but you ask him who shut them out.
Anytime you put 66 on somebody, and then all they can come up with is 6, that 6 was kind of like you know what? We don't want you guys to not play football anymore. We want you guys to go ahead and come back to practice on the next Monday. So we got to give them a little bit.
Generally, when
we let them get that 6.
Generally, when you see a score like that, where it's 60, or when they score
I
6,
love them guys though. They
it's
already
usually
know Kwame.
the scrubs that allow that 6. You put the scrubs in, in the 4th, and they allow a touchdown.
Yeah.
And then on the bus, you want to kill them for ruining your shutout.
Yeah.
So it's really like a shutout.
But it was Halloween night. The score was 66-6. So we couldn't have asked for anything more. It was made. It was meant to be, just like it was, and couldn't have had a better experience in high school football, college football, and everything that came.
Now I'm gonna give Northern a little bit of love though. I'm gonna end it on this note.
Absolutely.
I will say this, for like back in those days, for a team that was like losing all the time, they had a lot of Division One. They had a lot of Division
They're gonna
One
hit you in the
talent.
mouth. You're not gonna just run over them.
They had good,
All 11
good players.
I mean, Robert Smith played on that team.
Robert Smith was a good player.
Yeah.
Obviously, Mateen was a good player. Terry
Terry
Thomas
Tom-
was a
yeah.
good player.
Absolutely.
Herman Smith was a good player.
Absolutely.
Who else? Courtney String was on that team. Edie
mean,
Beard. They were all good players. Ali Cleve was on that
honestly,
team.
the whole city of Flint, you could go down and just look at each team, each school. Everybody put somebody at the next level, and they went to that next level. I mean, you talk about Northwestern
Yes.
with Dre Rising. You talk about Southwestern with Heisman Trophy winner Mark Ingram. I mean, Flint has put out some, exquisite, explicit, great talent, and it's still going on to this day.
Not only that, Mike, me and Phil Botzielt was talking on the phone yesterday. We were talking about this very thing, Flint athletes and this. Not only did we produce a lot of great athletes, but I was like giving him the rundown on some of these Flint guys that are like all-time leaders at their like colleges and stuff.
Absolutely.
Take someone like Glenn Rice, who's
Yeah.
Michigan's all-time leading
Three-point,
scorer.
yeah.
When he finished his career, he was the Big Ten all-time
Yeah.
leading scorer until Calbert Cheney broke his record.
Right.
Who else? You got I believe Stacey Thomas is still the woman's all-time
Yep.
leading scorer at Michigan.
Still got records at Southwestern.
graduate.
Yep.
Terry Furlow, a guy who played at Northern
Yep.
in the early 70s, he still holds a single-game scoring record for Michigan State. 50 points in a game
Right.
against Iowa, still a record. Glenn Rice in '89, when we won the national title,
Right.
he scored 184 points in that tournament.
Yep.
That is still a
Still the
single
record.
tournament record.
Yep.
Christian Leitner is the all-time
Right.
tournament, but single tournament Glenn Rice. And then you take like Jeff Greer,
Yeah.
Iowa State's all-time leading scorer. Okay, Monte Morris, all-time assist and steals leader at Iowa State.
Who's
the late great, God rest his soul, Roy Marble, all-time leading scorer
Absolutely.
at Iowa.
From Beecher, absolutely.
You know, we got a Heisman Trophy that came from here.
Yep.
The best woman's boxer ever put on a pair of gloves.
Clarissa
currently
Shields.
is from right here.
Absolutely.
From right in these parts here. So
Who's
I mean,
the
Flint's sports talent could compare to several major cities.
Chris Bird,
sports talent.
heavyweight champion of the world at one time.
the-
he was
the-
the champ. He wore the belt.
Durrell, Andre, and
Andre and
man,
the
come on now.
Durrell brothers.
Yeah.
Who's the all-time leading rusher at Alabama? Does Mark Ingram
Mark
hold
Ingram.
that
Mark
record?
Ingram is all-time leading rusher at Alabama.
Yep. And then the all-time interceptions leader is Paul Krause from Bendel High School.
Yep. I mean,
Did you know that?
And
I
even
didn't
in baseball, you want to talk about Jim Abbott. I mean,
No hitter for the Yankees.
Come on
No
now.
hitter for the New York Yankees.
a one-handed pitcher
Yeah.
out there throwing no hitters. Come on
One-handed
now,
pitcher.
Flint has produced some, top line, great athletes. I mean, like I say, we could put our roster versus several major cities, million
Per
population cities.
capita, we're second to none when it comes
Come
to
on
talent.
now. Come on
You know,
now.
I mean, obviously we're not as big as Detroit is like 100 times bigger than our city, but per capita.
But if you put it on paper, we can roll with anybody.
I used to work at Next Tier in Saginaw. I used to get it, me and my buddy Van Delonia, he's a Beecher graduate. We used to get into it all the time with these Saginaw guys up there.
Sag nasty don't wanna
These
see
were
it.
fun, respectable arguments.
Yeah.
Where we were like yelling and screaming. It was fun. You know how we talk about sport with somebody, we get into it, and people think we're stupid because they never played anything and they just think, look at these Al Bundy guys. It's always somebody that's never played sports anymore that will call you Al Bundy because they have nothing to talk about. They have
Right.
nothing to talk about.
Right.
But,
and the funny thing is about how stuff comes 360, my sister currently is the principal at Saginaw Arthur Hill.
No kidding.
Absolutely.
Wow. And my sister,
Martha Fordham,
Yep,
yep.
And my sister is the principal at Durant Terrymont Elementary. See? And that's another thing Phil and I touched upon. We weren't just talking about sports. We were talking about Flint in general, how like across the country, like we're portrayed as like a violent, crime infested.
Right.
The crime is bad here. And then obviously
I mean,
everybody
it's
knows
been
about
going
the water.
down, yeah.
But what people don't know is that there are way more people in Flint that are like you
Absolutely.
than people that are
And
robbing
like
and
you.
killing people.
Absolutely.
And we were giving examples of like other success stories, man. And
Man, Flint is full of positive people.
Yes.
People who are doing new, innovative, enriching. I mean, the entrepreneurial opportunities in Flint. I mean, just off the charts right now. I mean, so say what you want to say about Flint, but I hope for I hope that you have, whoever it is, has the opportunity to come here and actually see what's going on. And don't just make your opinions based on what you're seeing on the news. Come here to Flint and actually take a look around. Look at downtown. Our downtown hasn't been this vibrant in, 20, 30 years. I mean, some of the great things that Uptown is doing and building that area up. Mott College has their new culinary school down there, right downtown. I mean, Michigan State, they have a building downtown. Yep. The farmers market is just booming. I mean, Flint is the place to be. I'm sorry. Flint is the place to be right now, to me, in the nation.
We did a few of our shows, our podcast shows downtown Flint at the Hoffman's Deco Deli.
Oh, man,
right next to the Mad Hatter, where I buy my Kango hats.
I was just about to bring that up. A good friend of mine,
now that,
Heath Hoffman,
and now that there was a Flint Farmers Market reference by Mike, one of my childhood friends, Hope Myron, who's one of my best friends, has a store at the Flint Farmers Market. It's called A Bit of Earth. Oh, okay. Go check her out. She's really, really good. Just for the people who like to go to the farmers market. Yep. Yeah, man, Flint is booming right now.
Those businesses are thriving in downtown.
Flint is the place to be. If you want to build and grow a business or whatnot, I'm telling you, come check out some of these opportunities here in Flint, because it's about to go through the roof.
And
we're a college town now. You realize that? I mean, Flint, Michigan. Okay, we understand the things that happen with GM. But man, I'm excited that right now we're a college town. We're big on education. We're big on STEM. We're big on robotics. I mean, the things that Kettering is doing, it's just ridiculous right now. I was sharing with you earlier. I have about 2 teams down at Kettering right now competing in a robotics tournament versus teams from Davison, the city of Flint, Clio. I mean, there are things going on here in Flint that would just blow people's minds if they would just take the opportunity to come down here and see what we're doing. Yeah. Flint is the place to be.
Flint is the place to be. And you'd be surprised, when I lived in Arizona for the time that I was there, I met a lot of great people there. But more so when I was in like Glendale, they would ask me if I was in a street gang when I lived out there, because I was Mexican and I have tattoos. That automatically means that I was in a street gang. I know. But well, Mike, check this out, man. I really do want to come to the academy, to the Cultural Center Academy.
The invitation is open.
And I want to speak anything. Just talk to us, whatever, get a little group together. And I'll just talk about the way Flint was back in the day. I'll tell them about, like video games and like sports that I've played.
I have some parents who would, I'm telling you, they would love to be able to just give you a little blurb on how they feel about, Flint back in the day and different things. I mean, again, we have some families that are well connected with the history of the city. I don't want to mention too many names or whatnot, but if you ever get the opportunity, I can't wait to put you in contact with some of these people. They've blown me away with some of the things that they've already done. Their students, their families, or whatnot. So, man, the sooner the better. Because right now, man, like I say, I'll say it again, Flint is the place to be.
I agree. Well, Mike, listen, man, we'll get that set up, man. I will definitely come up and see you soon. And I'm going to have you on here. The next time I have you on, we'll talk a lot of wrestling. Okay. We'll talk a lot of wrestling stuff.
Any events or anything going on at the Academy or Flint Cultural Center that you want the people to know about?
Coming up is the Holiday Walk on December 3rd. That's an annual event for the Cultural Center. Bring your family, bring the kids. There's going to be several stations set up.
Bring your crutches, because you can't walk.
Bring your crutches, but there'll be stations set up. There'll be hot chocolate, snacks. There'll be caroling. They're going to light the tree around 5:15. Okay. We'll have a station in the Flint Cultural Center where you guys can come by. We'll have our book fair going on, Scholastic Fair, book fair. So come on in to FCC Academy and purchase some books for you or your students or whatnot. I mean, like I say, Flint has a lot going on, and then the different buildings, the institutions around the Cultural Center will be open, so you can go into the Flint Institute of Arts, take a look and see what's going on there. Go into the Flint Institute of Music, stop by the Longway Planetarium, take a look inside the Whiting or whatnot. It's going to be a great night. It always is. Thousands of people always come out, and like I say, I love for your listeners to come out, and if you guys can stop by too, man, like I say, it's the place to be. December 3rd, 5 o'clock.
December 3rd. Center. Okay, Mike, we'll make that happen, man. I'm looking forward to going up there. I really am.
All right.
I'm really happy for you, what you're doing, man, and I wish you nothing but all the blessings
Man,
in the world.
same
You,
to
your
you,
family,
Ray. You already
all
know
our
that.
friends, man. You know, all our Central guys we talked about, man. We love all of them guys.
Absolutely.
31-21,
big
my
fan.
team would have won. All right, that's gonna.
Can't end it on that.
No, that was just. I gave you your prediction. You said 89-2, so I thought I'd give my prediction.
All right. I'll take that. I'll take that.
But
I'll take that.
you would be the MVP of the game. Remember
Hey.
when Jerry West? He was like the MVP of the finals in a losing effort. He's the only guy. That would have been him. He would have been MVP of a losing effort.
Man, whatever.
All right, that's the end of today's show with Mike Fordham, man. I had a lot of fun with him.
Yeah.
Whenever you see me throw the book aside, you know
It's going to be a good
it's
conversation.
going to be a
That's
good
love,
conversation.
baby. Yes, sir.
And everybody needs to go online and look at the Flint Cultural Center Academy and look at what he's doing, looking for the events coming up. Mike's a good guy. You know, he talked about academics and all that, and he was a student athlete. He was like a perfect example on how it is to present yourself as a student athlete. And then you look at him now, to be able to look beyond his athleticism and still be able to make an impact on the city and give back to the community. I couldn't have handpicked a better guy to speak on stuff like that.
Yeah, appreciate
Remember
that.
what I told? Oh, one more thing. I left this part out. If somebody were to ask me, what was your impression of Mike Fordham in high school? This is how I would have described him. Good student, the best football player at the time. I can't deny that.
I feel a butt coming.
If it sounded like he was talking about himself, everything he said was true. So I'll vouch for that. He was all that. But Mike was he was a tall, he had that Bobby Brown haircut that people used to have.
We used to put the color,
really,
the
really
burgundy
big.
color in the hair.
Yeah, he was really, his chest was big, his shoulders were big, he had big legs. And he was like this mean football player, but he had he had a soft voice. For those of you who remember the group Full Force, Lisa Cult Jam and Full Force, you look at these Full Force guys where they look like they did 28 years in prison for murder. But then you listen to them sing, and they got these beautiful voices that make you want to call your ex-girlfriend up and tell her I'm sorry or something. That's kind of like how Mike, the way I viewed Mike, he was like a big R&B singer. He was like a big R&B singer that could play football really well. So that's how I would describe him. Okay, everybody, that'll include today's
that's
episode of
hilarious.
the D Sweet Nation. Be sure to
Man,
follow
love
us
you,
on,
Ray, man.
on Facebook and on YouTube. Hit subscribe and hit like. And we hope you enjoyed today's episode. And we look forward to seeing you again next week.
Absolutely.
Have a good weekend. Go Blue.
Thanks for the opportunity.